Alright, so we're doing exercise 9G and we're now up to question 12, which reads, the probability, let me actually get my highlighter ready, the probability that a married woman watches a certain television show is 0.4 and the probability that her husband watches the show is 0.5. The television show viewing habits of a husband and wife are clearly not independent. In fact, the probability that a married woman watches the show, given that her husband does, is 0.7. Find the probability that, and then we have these two questions. But before we launch into these, let's just analyze this a bit more. Firstly, I saw the word given, and I'm clearly told that they're not independent. So immediately, I'm thinking of conditional probability. And before we get into conditional probability, I'm also given these two probabilities here. The first of which is the probability that the wife is going to watch her show is going to be 0.4. The probability that the husband is going to watch his show is going to be 0.5. That's good. And then we're given this conditional probability that if the woman watches the show, given that the husband does, is 0.7. So I'm going to come here and say the probability that the woman watches the show, given her husband does, is going to be equal to 0.7. But before I write that, I want to write down what I know my formula is for this. So this is going to be the probability that the woman intersection the husband watches the show divided by the probability that the husband watches the show. Now that I have this information, I can start to slot in the pieces that we know. So immediately we're told what this is. This is going to be 0.7, which is going to equal the probability of the woman intersection of the husband. We don't know what that is, but we do know what the probability of H is. That's 0.5, 0.5. So that means I can figure out what this is. All I'm going to do is times both sides by 0.5, so that will cancel with that, and this side by 0.5. So I'm going to get 0.35 equals the probability of the woman intersection with the husband. So notice that I haven't even begun to answer the question. I just knew in my heart of hearts that I could do this. And it just so happens that the very first question is, what's the probability that both the husband and the wife watch the show? Which is the same thing as saying, what's the probability of the wife intersection the husband? That's the same thing as that. So my answer is going to be 0.35. Next, the husband watches the show given that his wife watches it. So it's going to be a conditional probability. So the probability that the husband watches the show given that his wife does. So again, we're going to write down our formula, which is going to be the probability, the husband intersection wife divided by the probability of the wife, which is going to equal, well, we've already figured out what the probability of H intersection with W is. That's going to be 0.35, 0.35. And we know what the probability of the wife watching the show is going to be 0.4, 0.4. And let's remember, this is the perks of doing things on the computer. This is going to be that. So then we come down. So our final answer is going to be 0.35 divided by 0.4, which is 0.875. So I'm going to get my highlighter. This is going to be my answer. 0.875. 0.875. Then we come up, and this is going to be 0.35. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you got stuck on 9G, question 12.